All right. Pull up a chair, 'cause we got a lot to say about the world out there at the Humpday Exchange today. Oh, yeah. Thank you for indulging us. Welcome, everybody. This is Humpday Exchange with our hosts, Debo and Michael. Thank you for joining us tonight. Our special guest is Mitchell Jacob. Now, he is running for U.S. House District 4, right? 4.
Yes. My district.
Currently, yes, and currently occupied by Tom Cole. Since my youngest daughter was born, and she's in her 20s now. So just to give you an idea of how much power this person has amassed and why we need people stepping up like Mitchell to take some of this on. So thank you, Mitchell. I'm going to turn it over to our host. If you have any opening statements or words you'd like to say, please feel free to do so, and then we'll just jump right into the interviewing.
Yeah, you've got a really nice, diverse background there. So I would love if you would tell us a little bit about you. What kind of, what's that background? What prompted you to do this?
Sure, I'll start with a very quick overview of my background, and then I'll just launch right into why I ran, if that works for y'all, unless that's a later question. Don't want to steal your thunder.
Nope.
So I am a fourth generation Oklahoman. I am one of 9 children originally. I have 5 boys right now at home. Like so many from a similar background, I started my career, as many do, dishwasher in restaurants, busboy, you name it. I went to college in 2010 to Tulane, but I couldn't afford it. I dropped out originally. In that time, I started selling mortgages, then turns out I hate sales, and that was a purely commission-based job, selling those mortgages. So I transitioned into banking, and then it became a stockbroker. When I was 13, I made a promise to myself that I would one day serve my country in the military. Woke up when I was 25, realized, at least from the Army's perspective, that I was getting old, and that if I were going to make good on that promise, that time was running out. So I just quit my job, enlisted as a private in the Army. And in the course of all of that, I completed 4 degrees, and today I am a public defender. I work as a public defender in Cleveland County, and I am an attorney. And then in 2024, I actually ran for State House, Oklahoma's House District 20, which is most of McLean County and southern Cleveland County, for those who aren't familiar. And I was planning originally, I lost that race to be clear, and I was planning to run for it again in 2026. And if you go look at the Ethics Commission, you will see that committee was formed. What ultimately happened, though, is that my 4 oldest boys were born before my wife became a naturalized citizen of the United States. And on January 20th of 2025, Donald Trump signed an executive order trying to strip them of their birthright American citizenship. And quite simply, all I can say to that is that you're going to tell me that my boys are not U.S. citizens over my dead body. And so I dissolved that state committee. I formed this congressional committee, and we launched officially on August 16th of last year. I believe you beautiful people were there, and we've been going strong since then.
I love that. Yes. So we were kind of talking about that last night about, your wife and your kids, and just like how that really just changes the trajectory of, what you're running for, why we're running, and having not only is this so personal to you home-wise, but how passionate you are to serve Oklahomans as a whole. Because that's a lot. It's so heavy.
Well, what I have come to learn in my life, through my experiences, through the job that I work on a daily basis, is that I do not know what any given person we're all going through a battle. And I don't know what any other person is going through. But what I have learned, which seems to be missing a lot, is that I can have empathy for your situation, even though I could never possibly begin to understand it. And all it takes is a smile, a kind word, a little bit of commiseration, and we can do that without hate, without putting other people down, and without dismissing other people's experiences simply because we have not personally experienced it ourselves. And I think that that is just missing in a lot of ways in the country right now. And I'm just trying to live a little bit more empathy.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Michael?
Kind of touching on that, I saw that you're like personally passionate about public policy and inclusion for all. I wanted to see if you could kind of expand on that, kind of what your policies would reflect on inclusion for all.
Well, just to put it quite simply, what I remember learning as a child in public schools is that America is a melting pot. And I remember that we celebrated that when I was a child. We would have cultural immersion days, cultural inclusion days, and we would do around the world and all these things that my kids don't get exposed to anymore. And building on that, I just believe that the United States of America, by virtue of how we started, is a land of immigrants. And I think that that is wonderful. I think that immigrants, built America, make it a better place. They enrich it. And I just believe that regardless of background, regardless of personal history, where you may have been born, come from, socioeconomic background, you are and should be welcome in this country that I call home. And I just want policies that embrace the differences among us and that do not divide us based upon those differences.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. I get to that too. Can't believe that we're still doing this. Mm-hmm. So it's so much going on all the time. It's so heavy. And so kind of with that, I kind of wanted to go off of this topic for a hot second because it is.
You're muted.
You are muted, yes.
Okay. No, I have an alarm that's like, take your meds, get ready for bed, go wash your face, get in bed. No, for real, get in bed. I'm like, oh,
hey, I'm with you. See you guys.
I know, I have alarms. I'm like, take your meds, go to bed. All right, fine. Because we're so busy, right? Go, 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 go. I literally have to set alarms.
Yes, ma'am.
So what are some things that you do for yourself, right? To kind of take care of you, that so you can take care of your family, then you would ultimately be able to take care of us as your constituents.
So that's a tough one because, so backing up, I said a moment ago that I am a public defender. So I'll say this right now. I work a lot I work a lot on my day job, and then I campaign a lot. And then I have 3 kids still at home, 5 kids total. One's a freshman in college. I don't have much free time, and that's just a reality that I'm dealing with right now. I struggle to find the things, but what I will say is that I try very, very, very hard. I would prefer to do it a lot more often. I'm just not finding enough time. But I'm a swimmer. This summer will mark 22 years since I started lap swimming. And what I love is to try to take an hour, at least once a week is the minimum I'm looking for right now, to go for a swim. And it's for 2 reasons, really. One, it's just really good for you. It's such a good workout. It engages every muscle in my body. I really enjoy it. But the second thing that I love about it is I can't have my cell phone with me. So for an hour, you cannot get a hold of me. I can't see a notification, can't receive a phone call, text message, email. I am just out of commission, and I get to process everything going through my head at that time. And I just find it to be a really good forced disconnect from the world that brings us back. And I think we should put this down later at some point. There's a question about the McGirt ruling, and we should get into that at some point, but I do not want to derail your interview. Well,
that'll be part of it. We all have the really cool, unique, beautiful thing about our team is that we have such different backgrounds that we kind of cover all of the topics. And
Good.
So I know, veteran affairs is a huge topic for all of us. But we have, like Candace is a veteran. I have veterans that are, my dad, my brother. So, and we've got audience members that are veterans. And, kind of what, and then housing, mental health, education. I know that education was one of your, public education was one of your topics as well. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. The three things I'm running on, I suppose, to just get there really quickly. Number one is, and I can't believe we have to say this in 2026, but here we are, strict adherence to the Constitution. Number two is eliminating the federal debt. And number three is simply treating public education like an investment and stop treating it like an expense.
Oh, I love that. Michael, do you have anything?
Wow.
Or Elisa?
I was just gonna pop in here about that McGirt question because I'm the indigenous person, so those are usually the questions I ask. So since it was in the comments, if you wouldn't mind talking about that, that would be great.
Sure, and I'll start with saying that I am not an expert on McGirt. So if you have detailed, granular follow-up, I can't necessarily help you with that, but I can absolutely give you a 20,000-foot overview of it. So the McGirt ruling, well, if we back up really quickly, the Creek Nation is in the eastern, not the only one, but it's in the eastern part of the state. And Congress created a reservation for the Creek Muskogee Nation in perpetuity a long time ago. And about 100 years ago, when the state was formed after the Oklahoma Territory the Indian Territory and the Oklahoma Territory merged together, that reservation was never disbanded. But the state of Oklahoma and the city of Tulsa started operating as if it was just free land and that it was not restricted by that treaty, by the tribes or anything like that. Well, fast forward to 2014 or 2016, I forget offhand, it was one of those, but the Supreme Court finally issued a ruling saying Congress never disbanded that reservation, which means that that land still belongs to the Creek Nation. We are not sure what the implications of that ruling are yet, even 10 years later, because as you can imagine, Tulsa is worth, at least economically, billions of dollars. There's a ton of private land, homes, businesses, floodplains. I mean, you name it, there's so much land there that we're still trying to figure out how that works, whether or not the Creek Nation just automatically owns everything there, or whether or not the Tulsa Police Department has been enforcing laws that it has no jurisdiction to enforce. There's a lot of questions that go with that. There's a ton, and I mean a ton of litigation that's come from that, many Supreme Court rulings after that, and I'm sure many more will come down. But at a 10,000-foot overview, we are just in a conflict where the state of Oklahoma is trying to exercise jurisdiction over the land, but technically the United States government gave that land to the tribes and has never undone that treaty or that grant of land, jurisdiction, etc.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, they didn't give
like-
it. They didn't give us any land. No indigenous people were given land. We
I
traded the land that we had in other locations in support of the land here. So I'm Choctaw. So ours is the Treaty of Dancing Creek Rabbit. And, just honoring these treaties, even a little bit, like how can somebody in Congress, go in and start looking at these little nuances and say, what are we doing to these people? We're occupying them kind of like Palestine is being occupied, and most indigenous folks and tribes are fine with the settlers being on those lands. It's just when, like, our governor in particular, starts what feels like an all-out war.
I call it a crusade.
There you go. Crusade is probably a better word for that. Mm-hmm. And also claims tribal citizenship at the same time as that, I have no words for it, but there's got to be something that indigenous tribes could petition Congress, to help enforce some of these things.
I agree with you, but it always strikes me when we have these. So first thing I want to say is that I do apologize. You're right that that land was not given. And I did not mean to say that. That was just an incorrect statement. So thank you for that correction. The next thing I will say is that when we have these conversations, it strikes me that and that's not a bad thing. It's just I don't look at it the same way. We typically start with what can the tribes do? But the tribes did not do anything wrong. And from my perspective, the question is, what should Congress be doing? And whenever you look at it from one lens versus the other, the problem looks very different. And so we should be we being Congress, forgive me, Congress should be doing the work to find the solution. And the way that starts is by inviting the tribes to Washington, D.C. to have that, or maybe coming to the Oklahoma, whatever that needs to be. You start with the people who are affected, who were originally the recipients of that grant, that reservation grant, and then you work your way forward or backward, however it needs to go from there. But you don't start with what should the people who are being affected by the policy that is already theirs to begin with, what should they be doing? And I just see that framing constantly, and it might be innocuous, it might be in the best intention ever, but it still puts the burden on the people who should not have to even deal with this in the first place, when really it's on those who have done the wrong to correct that injustice.
Thank you for that. You are the first person that we have interviewed in this entire series that has said that. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, and has that much knowledge into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like immediately there was no, ooh, let me get back to you. It was like, ooh, let me tell you how the cow ate the cabbage. This is what's up. Because that's a hot topic for us.
And the reason I know what I do know is simply because in my work, I have represented tribal members who the state has tried to prosecute for events that occurred within their own reservation that the state of Oklahoma had no jurisdiction to take action to begin with. And so I had to become rapidly familiar with, again, 20,000 foot. I am not an expert on any of the topics that we have touched on thus far, but I have scratched far enough down to understand the implications for the individuals, which is why I say that I do not know what the correct answer is from a tribe perspective, because that is a very different scenario than can we prosecute one single individual for an action that they took versus are we robbing an entire tribe of that which they are entitled to? That question is far beyond the scope of my knowledge.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
Absolutely.
And again, you answered it brilliantly and succinctly, and I appreciate that. Tribes do need to have these conversations. At one point, and some of the tribes actually still have within their treaties that they're supposed to be able to send a representative to sit in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been fought for over 100 years. And I'm like, I don't understand this, but I think everything that has been coming to light this last year kind of has helped everybody understand a little bit more. Unfortunately, crash courses in a lot of different stuff in the last couple of years. So anyway, thank you for answering that question. That was amazing answer and so succinctly too. So thank you.
I just want to answer. So you can ask questions the whole time. Just put them in the chat, and we will either answer them as we go along, and or towards the end. So just go ahead and put them in the comments and the thing and the the comment section. Put questions in the comment section and we'll get through them. You're welcome. Thank you. This is my whole day.
You and me both. I understand.
All day. Like, I don't even know. I mean, making up. I'm like, that thing over there that goes. What is your plan to win the primary? That is a good question. So I want to start off if you guys don't mind, with what is different about this campaign than the last. And then what is your plan to win the primary?
And when you say the last, just to clarify, do you mean 2024?
Yes, correct. That's when I became familiar with you.
So I guess there's an obvious answer is that one was for a state house seat and one is for a United States house seat, but I don't think that's the question you're asking me. So instead, what I will say is, quite honestly, the stakes. Let me back up. Can you clarify your question? I just want to make sure I answer it correctly.
Well, because we've had a couple people that, keep running for the same position or like, hey, what's different? But running, knowing that it's two different things that are going on, right? So state versus going to like the big house. So maybe I don't know how to put it into words correctly. More as is it now that you have a little bit more experience under your belt? Do you find this round, regardless, is the fact that you're running? Now that you have some experience under your belt, some more, does it feel a little easier to run this time? Get more confident?
Well, that's a tough question. So that's a yes and no question. At the end of the day, I did gain experience. I was able to build, you can't see it, but I'm sitting, I suppose, in my campaign headquarters and able to put a lot of the practices that I learned in 2024 into place here. There's a phone bank right next to me. There's all the things that you would expect for a large scale campaign. But by the same token, it did not help me at all because the HD20 race was to attempt to earn the vote of 40,000 Oklahomans. This race is just shy of 800,000 Oklahomans. And that scale is massive. It is now going from a portion of two separate counties, neither one of them in full, to now 13 full counties plus a part of a 14th. And that's just different. What I didn't have to do last time is create regional organizers or break it down into someone to manage each county, and then within each county, break that county down into specific regions. I don't want to get too in here.
No, I get it.
People because that gets boring, but it did not prepare me for the scale. That's what I can tell you, and that is very different. Just as a simple statement.
Right. No, I was like, I can only, when you started doing that, I was like, I can only imagine. Never mind. I'm like,
$2 million, your opponent, your opponent.
That was
opponent, right?
That was on December 31st. He had just shy of $3 million, and I can only imagine where we are right now.
For what?
Yeah.
Yes.
For appropriations committee chair. Are you kidding me? All of the money that comes out of Congress goes through that committee. Every penny.
And just know that whenever you break it down, and you can, I have a blog on this that breaks it down by actual numbers. So if you want to see that in granular detail, only 3% of the contributions to Mr. Cole's campaign come from everyday Oklahomans like you and me.
That was going to be kind of leans into kind of what I was going to ask too, like, how has the feedback from Normanites, what have you been hearing from the district, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at. Support?
Yes, very supportive, generally speaking. And what I have noticed a lot is what is not the same is what issue is galvanizing any one person, as you might imagine. We're all individual people. We all hold different things in high regard. But what I will say is that even among some of the staunchest Trump supporters for my 2024 campaign, even some of them have reached out to ask questions and see if my answers would make them vote for me this time around as opposed to last time around. And it is interesting. It makes me sad, to be clear, but it is interesting to watch that shift happen in real time. as people begin to. I will always encourage people to ask questions, and I wish that more people would ask more questions, because as we learn answers, we become more educated, and we are better able to make informed decisions. And watching those informed decisions turn into doubt and reflection, I think is a positive and healthy step. But that alone is not enough. It actually requires you to cast a vote that you may otherwise not want to cast, and we have not gotten there yet, so that I can actually let you know whether or not it's effective, or whether or not all those conversations have changed anyone's mind.
Yeah, you are going up against a beast. Like we previously said, Tom Cole's raised almost $3 million, so I'm sure that's pretty difficult to battle. So I definitely feel that. How do you feel about like keeping money out of politics? Because clearly there's some intermingling in there, it looks like to me, from what I was researching yesterday. So on his campaign, some special interests.
Yeah, so there are three ways, I think, to break down the question of money in politics. Number one, I think that you and I, individual people, should always be able to contribute with spending caps. Or contribution caps is what I meant to say. You cannot win. I mean, just paying monthly for the email that we use, that costs money, right? So everything that anybody ever does, just like any business, it costs money. There's internet in this building, lights on, it was a hot day, so the AC kicked on. That's all going to cost money at the end. So we can't keep all money out of politics, but we can certainly limit it. And that goes to the next point. I truly, strongly believe that, at least in my lifetime, that Citizens United is one of the worst decisions that we have ever had, because all that it did was silence you and me. Or to say that a different way, it changed the scale. We went from billionaire, the ultra wealthy, and the regular people basically being pitted against each other, but at parity, because we still had the exact same spending contribution. I keep saying spending contribution caps as one another. So a billionaire couldn't give a candidate more than I could at the end of the day. And so it was about finding more people, et cetera. But now we've eliminated that and said, yes, billionaires, corporations, special interests, et cetera, go ahead and spend an unlimited amount of money. Sometimes don't even disclose it. That's perfectly fine for your favorite candidate, or even worse, against your disliked candidate. And then we have the third issue, which is if you were to completely eliminate money from politics, in the sense that nobody can contribute to a campaign except for the candidate, then you just get into I'm the wealthiest person around. I'm the only one who can afford to run a campaign. And so it will only ever be the ultra elite wealthy who can even enter into these races. And I don't think that solves anything either. So all that I want us to go back to is that Congress represents the people. Well, let's say it this way. The only people who should be able to contribute into campaigns or spend money on them, for them, against them, whatever the case may be, are the same people who can vote on them.
So would you be in favor of stipends to candidates that are equally given across the board? So if you have 10 candidates, running for the same office, they all have the exact same stipend given to them, and they have to decide how they want to spend it and make it count.
And are you saying paid to the candidate as like personally for them to use to live, or like the Federal Election Commission sets an across the board amount, and that's the amount that is given to each campaign, and each campaign can only spend that amount of money for their campaign?
The latter. They're given a stipend from, like, say, the election board, or however that would work, right? Yes. You have so many candidates, and then each one is given, I don't know what that would be, say $100,000, for a state race or something. And each candidate was given an equal amount of money, and that's their contributions. And they have to figure out how to run their campaign with that amount of money. Now, for some people who have ran grassroots campaign, that's going to be a lot of money, and they're going to be able to do a lot with that. But those billionaires spending all the money, they don't know how to do anything except write big fat checks. And I think we could beat them
if we limited them that way and equaled the playing field. Just a thought.
As a general point, that's interesting. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I would have to know a lot more. That is actually an interesting concept. The only where I think that you start to lose me. So I guess what I would say is this. That sounds really interesting for the primary. I don't know that that necessarily works just without having had a moment to think about this before we have this conversation. I start to question that for the general election. I would have to think about that more unless it's like, here's one pot of money, every primary candidate gets to split this equally, and then that same pot of money will be given for the general, and then those two, or if, a third party like Libertarian Party fields a candidate, then those three will split it evenly. Maybe. That actually sounds very interesting, and I would be interested to see what the results come of that. But if you're just saying, here's a pot of money that you get in January, good luck getting to November, I would have to think about that more. But as a general point, I'm not opposed to what you have proposed.
No, fair enough. Thanks for playing. I know you got a left field, so thank you for that.
Listen, Elisa comes up with some of the best ideas. You're like, that's great. Write that down. Yeah, that's good. Very, very, very insightful. Very creative.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask some questions that were. Hold on.
Sure.
Okay. I kind of wrote them down. So one of them was stock trading. So I know there's a lot of emphasis right now on. There's even a new app where you can track the elected officials' stock trades, so that you could go on the same. It's insane. So, what is your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that?
So I guess let me say what my pledge is when you elect me to the United States Congress, and then we'll back up and I'll talk more generally about what I believe should be the restrictions, if you will, on elected officials when they take office. And I guess right now we're talking exclusively about United States Congress because Congress does not have the right to write the rules for elected officials of the state generally. But anyway, what I am pledging is that one thing I mentioned earlier is I used to be a stockbroker. I personally own investments and equities, mutual funds, whatever the case may be. And I want to be clear about that going in. It's already been disclosed on my House financial disclosure report. You can go look at it right now and you can see everything that I own today. But with that being said, here's my pledge that when I get into office, I will not purchase any new investments except for an index fund that just tracks the market generally. So I won't buy any individual equities or anything like that. And as I sell when in office, then that will just be converted into an index fund because I believe that it is highly improper, unethical, should be illegal. And in many ways it is, but that's fine. For a member of Congress to trade in the individual equities or stocks, if you will, of the same companies that they're tasked with regulating. That is criminal, in my opinion. Yep. And backing up then, so I forget what he called it, but at the State of the Union last night, President Trump asked for the passage of, it was a 3-letter acronym, I forgot what it was. Anyway, it just struck me that we already have the Stock Act, which stands for Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act. It already makes it a crime to do that. But do you know how many prosecutions there have been under the Stock Act since it was enacted? That many. So it's not a question of whether or not any these activities that we're referring to are illegal. It's a question of why are we not prosecuting those crimes? And all we need to do is give that law full faith and force, and we will have solved the problem. We don't need to make it criminal again. We just need to enforce what we already have.
Right. I think that's where some of the stuff is disheartening because we're like, there are already things in place for this. Why are we not doing anything about it?
Yes.
I mean, like, it's maddening. Why? I don't understand. Why are we not arresting people? Why are we not going after people? Like, what is happening right now? So many things. There's so many things going on that I'm like, there are bills that are coming up that, like, people that are undocumented don't get benefits here. They pay into them, but they don't get them. So to introduce all these random bills, like, that's already the thing.
Oh, you mean what's going through the Oklahoma legislature right now?
Yeah, I mean, you're just in general, because there's so many things that are going on that you're like, oh my God. Oh
I mean,
my
that is a
goodness.
true point. Right? Under federal law right now, only United States citizens can receive, and we have to be clear here, funding that comes from the federal government. And where we begin to diverge, usually in conversations, at least what I have on doorsteps, is when they say, well, what about California or Illinois or something, right? And to be very clear, the point is that under federal law, federal dollars can only go to American citizens. But under state law, states have the right to use their taxpayer dollars however the state sees fit. And so we are typically, that comparison is apples to oranges, comparing a state law to a federal law, and then somehow saying that the federal law is deficient because there is a state law somewhere that allows a different action for a different pot of money. But as it stands right now, if you are undocumented in the United States of America, you are not entitled to receive benefits that are funded by federal taxpayer dollars. And I apologize, I might have cut you off. Were you about
Oh, no, you're good. It's just, I think my brain is so full sometimes that I just stutter now. I do want to ask one more thing that was asked, and I know for myself, this is an important topic, is the LGBTQ support. Going to kind of couple with some, DEI and all of that. Like, where do you stand on that?
So I'm going to say the line I say often, but I have received pushback on it, so I'm going to clarify it too. So I believe that trans rights or LGBTQIA plus rights are human rights. And what I mean by that when I say that is that we should not have to separate those out. Any right that I have should belong to every other person who is an American citizen, full stop. And that's what I mean when I say that. It should not, the rights that are available to you, and this goes to like bodily autonomy and other rights, it should not matter what state I'm driving through. It should not matter my personal beliefs, identity, my genitalia, for those who get so concerned with that, on what rights it is that I actually possess in life, in America, in any state that I live, or the city or county that I live in. And that is what I mean when I say that trans rights are human rights, LGBTQIA plus rights are human rights. It is on the government to respect everyone's rights. It is not on us to prove why any individual group of Americans are deserving of those same rights.
Agreed.
Here. Thank you.
No, I was like, woo! I was like, Mitchell's on fire. Oh, and then thoughts on APAC. That was one.
I will not take AIPAC money, and even though this isn't the question, I'm going to go ahead and go there. So what I assume when people are talking about AIPAC, they're also just generally talking about Israel, since that is ultimately where that money is coming from. So first, again, not only will I never take AIPAC money this campaign, I am not accepting any PAC money, only contributions from individuals. But looking at Israel specifically for a moment, I will first have to say that every single sovereign, every country has the right to defend itself from attacks. That's a true statement. What is not a true statement is that in defending themselves, that does not give them the right to commit genocide, war crimes, or crimes against humanity. And that is exactly what is happening right now in Gaza. The Palestinian people are under bombardment. They're under siege. They're being held hostage. I mean, they're refusing. They said that they would finally open the Rafah crossing. They opened it, but they're only allowing 5 people per day when the entire projection was to allow 50 ambulatory medical, I just blanked on the word, but people who need medical attention across, and they are just not living up to that promise. And we know that they are indiscriminately bombing hospitals, schools, apartment complexes, markets, restaurants, vacation spots, etc. And they are leveling the land that they are given to build. Apparently, this Board of Peace is about to go in there and build high-rise condominiums because that's what the people of Palestine need. And instead of doing anything to address the problem, they are continuing to bomb. And the issue is not only that all of that is happening. The issue is that the crossings are closed. So even as all of these bombings, military actions, tanks, troops are rolling into Gaza, the West Bank, and generally Palestine every single day, there's nowhere for the people of Palestine to go. They cannot leave. And so they're being forced into a smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller sect of land until eventually it will just take one more bomb to get rid of everything. And that is why I call this a genocide, because in fact, that is what it is. And it is time that the United States actually live up to the moral authority that we claim to have. And what I call in the United States to do is to halt all financial and military support of Israel until they come into compliance with international law. They stop committing genocide and they stop committing war crimes on a daily basis.
That was something
Here.
Elisa and I talked about too, with that now kind of being here, kind of those crimes against humanity. It's just gross. Makes my head hurt.
Well, and you say here, and I'm going to go on a slight tangent.
Go for it.
The hypocrisy is real, right? So we have a president right now talking about bombing, striking, whatever you want to call it, in Iran because of the way that they're treating protesters. But it strikes me that at the same time that we're talking about going in to save protesters in that other country, which, by the way, I don't agree with any government who wholesale slaughters their citizens because they choose to protest and they choose to seek a better life for themselves. But we have a government who has killed Americans on the streets of American cities, is deploying mass men of terror and fear around the country, is using, entering people's homes, breaching the most sacred place in the United States of America, our home, without judicial warrants, seizing Americans, building detention centers all across this country, at the same time that we're trying to somehow impose some moral authority on the world that they have to treat their citizens better. The hypocrisy is real. It's time it ends, and it's time that we live up to these ideals of individual freedom, personal values, respect the Constitution of the United States of America. And Alex Preddy, RIP, was labeled a domestic terrorist within 2 hours of his murder. That is unconscionable. That should be illegal, and it should at least be the grounds for beginning an investigation for impeachment. And that is not to mention the slew of other acts that would rise to the level as well.
Right. Michael, what you got?
It's hard to follow up.
I know.
that
I'm
one.
like,
You were-
how do
I
you
was
follow
like,
that? I'm like,
yeah.
Michael. Oh, back to you, Michael.
Shifting it way to the other side. So what's your plan to attract sustainable business here in Norman? Because, like I said, I live here in Norman. I'd like to hear kind of what that would entail, and would that entail allowing AI data centers in our community?
I'm going to break this into two separate questions.
Yeah.
First, I'm going to address small business, and then you'll probably have to remind me I'll address AI data centers. Because on the one hand, I don't think that if you're building an AI data center, you're a small business. And two, I just think that that's its own topic. But small business, my plan is relatively simple. And I recently, so I'm going to self-publish for one moment. On my website, mitchelljacob.com, I strongly encourage you to visit it. There's a blog straight from Mitch. Every single Sunday, I write a blog post, and we're on week 32. So we have been consistent, and there is a lot on there. in it is a 3-part series on the Small Business Administration. Thank you. And I have written extensively on this, and I campaign on this. My solution is relatively simple. We gave $100 billion to ICE. That type of funding didn't solve any problems for American citizens. And we could use that type of funding to actually improve the lives of Americans. And what I want to do is expand the Small Business Administration massively. I want to increase access to capital for entrepreneurs. But to be clear, what I don't want is yet another franchise for a McDonald's or a Subway or something to be built with that money. I want that Small Business Administration funding to be going toward Americans who want to own their tomorrow, who want to own that American dream and push forward. And I want it to start going to individuals. And anyway, so I propose a massive expansion of the Small Business Administration that is going to actual Americans and not to just some corporation somewhere. I hope that addresses that question. I encourage you to go read the 3-part series because it's broken down into minute detail, and I would lose all of you if I were to start trying to get into that right now. But it's there, I promise. As far as AI data centers, so this one I think is a little bit, from my perspective, more complicated, but not difficult. It's just nuanced. So I believe that whether or not to build a data center and where it should be located, that is a state law and a local question. Does your city or county or state permit these types of activities? Do you have permits for them, etc.? That's a state law question. When it's built, however, I believe that becomes a federal question. Because then it's connected to the power grid, because then it is using water at a massive rate, because then it begins to affect the environment and it has impacts far beyond the locality where it is located. And I'm still thinking about the where we would house this, because right now what I've described hits on multiple agencies. FERC regulates the electric part. The EPA is going to regulate, the water part, and so on and so forth. So multiple agencies are going to be looking at different pieces of this, and I believe that we could streamline this a little bit, and perhaps we could empower the Federal Trade Commission or the Federal Communications Commission, an agency like that, to take a more robust approach to regulating AI data centers, because at its core, like anything else in the world, these items in the abstract and by themselves are not a problem. It is the way that we use them. It is the rate at which they're built. It is the lack of regulation. It is the using lobbyists and funding to overcome the obstacles that should actually be done with thought out planning and planning commissions and permitting. That's when we run into issues. And I don't have a one-size-fits-all solution for you right now. I'm not an expert in this field, and I would defer to people who are far smarter than me on this. But again, I will just go back to whether or not a data center should exist, I believe is a local question, and what to do with it once it's built, that's what I believe is the federal question.
Absolutely. Perfect. Elizabeth?
Should we bring the trains back?
I didn't think trains went away.
I don't know.
I personally think we should. I am a huge proponent of trains. I believe that if I could have my pipe dream, if you will, I want every single, let's back up. We know that traffic is an issue, not only from a pollution standpoint, a congestion standpoint, the cost of fuel and its impact upon local places. The more cars we have, the more we're paving over this beautiful world that we live in. And we could compact a lot of that down. And I would like to see, at least in Oklahoma, because that's where I'm most familiar, a subway-esque system, more like a sky rail, I suppose, that surrounds Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and then a high-speed train that connects both of those together. And then as we start expanding that, I would love to see a bullet train that goes to Kansas City and Dallas and Austin and Denver and so many others. And I think that trains could be a huge benefit to our country in reducing. I mean, if you want to go anywhere in the United States right now, your options really are take a bus, take a plane, or drive your car. All of those have a huge carbon footprint. We know that. We know that to be true. And we stopped investing in the more efficient means of travel a long time ago, which is trains. And the United States is actually perfect for trains because we are a massive geographical country. So yes, I agree. I want to see the trains brought back. I want to see us using the more modern bullet trains, maglevs, all of that good jazz. And I would be a very happy camper, and I think about this a lot more than I probably should.
No, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I have
Really like that
some
idea.
great grandparents that worked the rails, and 1912 they were making lunch in the work truck, and a train hit them.
Mm.
They threw out all 5 of their kids and got them to safety. Well, I take that back. They threw 4 of their kids out the window. The baby the mother had and was wrapped up, and nobody found the baby until they were putting the mom's body on the train to take her to Albuquerque. So, but having said all of that, I freaking love trains and I love the idea of them. I don't think that we should do it the way that it was done in the past with these corporations being able to hold American hostages, right? By deciding where they want, oh, no, that's not profitable enough for us. So I think it would have to be, if it's going to be funded by taxpayer dollars, right, then taxpayers need to be able to go on it for a reasonable cost.
Yeah.
And it should go to the places that people go to.
Yes.
I've been wanting to ride a train for a while. And the only way to take a train out of Oklahoma is, and I think that's even going away, is the Heartland Flyer. Right. And then from Dallas, right, they might send you one of 3 or 4 places, and it just is absolutely convoluted when we're the crossroads of America.
We are.
We should have a hub here.
Imagine the economic benefit it would be for anyone who needs to get by in the United States generally to pass through Tulsa and Oklahoma City, as well as the communities along the way, Clinton, Weatherford, Stroud, etc. What an economic boom that would be to these locations, to this state. In fact, now that we're talking about transportation, I know you did not ask me any of these questions, but as a result of where we are, Oklahoma is already the most likely state in the union where you're going to register or tag, if you will, your semi-trailer because of the laws, the way it works in our permanent tagging scheme. And when I was running for State House in 2024, one thing I campaigned on constantly is that the state of Oklahoma should be a hub, a destination for any supply chain logistics or transportation company, because we're in the middle of the country. They already tag all their vehicles here. And if we could continue to build on that, and like the trains we're talking about, airports, things like that, continue to invest in being a hub for transportation, imagine the economic boom that would be to the state as people constantly come here. And as a result, they set roots and then they start building from there. I mean, Tulsa it was benefited so much by Route 66. And so we know that this concept is true. It's not new. It's not revolutionary. It just takes actually doing it.
Awesome. I would like to end off with you telling us how we can help you, volunteer, donate, all of the things.
Well, there are 3 things that the campaign, let's back up. So I want to say thank you to every single one of you who have joined tonight. If you're here and you've watched this long, clearly you care. Clearly you're invested. And I want to say my hat is off to you. I know that I'm the person on the screen here, but I'm not the one doing the hard work, because there are 800,000 people in this district, for example, and I will certainly not be the one to talk to each and every one of them. It is ultimately, essentially, going to be one of you incredible humans who does that work. So thank you. You are the reason that we're going to win this at the end of the day. And if you want to keep that momentum going, there are 3 things that you can do for any campaign, and I would encourage you to help do it with this campaign. You can give your time. Every single first and third Sunday of the month, and starting in March, I believe it will become every Sunday, I host a phone bank right here where I'm sitting at 300 West Gray in Norman, Oklahoma. I'll say that again in a moment. And then any Sunday where we phone bank, the Saturday before, this Saturday, for example, we do a day of canvassing at 10 a.m., meeting at the headquarters. And after that, we can set you up to be able to just do it in your local community and specifically in your neighborhood. So your time. The second thing you can give to a campaign is your talent. Are you a CPA? Are you an attorney? Are you an IT expert? Whatever it is that you are good at, I promise you, your local favorite candidate needs that help too. And I encourage you to give that talent. And 3 is your treasure. If you can do both of those, or you can't do both of those, can you give $25 a month? Can you write a $1,000 check? I know we had a conversation in here about getting money out of politics, but at the end of the day, as it stands today, that is the system we live in. And I hate asking for money. It's why I quit working as a stockbroker. It's why I quit working as a mortgage loan originator. But here we are again. And at the end of the day, if we actually want to win this election, it's going to take money, because there are staff to pay, there are bills to pay, there's rent, there's literature. Just for example, and we're about to do another round, but we've already spent $1,920.86 just on literature this year. This campaign, $1,162.50 on yard signs. It adds up at the end of the day, rapidly, quickly, and that is none of the other things that are happening. So again, I encourage you to come get involved and donate your time. 300 West Gray, Norman, Oklahoma, and I'll see you this Saturday at 10 a.m. to knock, or this Sunday at 2 p.m. to make phone calls. And if you would like to contribute money, that'll be mitchelljacob.com. mitchelljacob.com. There are 2 L's in it. And then one thing I'd like to leave everyone with is my cell phone number. I truly believe that if someone's going to run to be a representative, then they have to be available to the people that they're asking to vote for them, because otherwise, who am I representing? So my cell phone number is 405-407-6975. If you call it right now, you'll interrupt this live stream, so I ask you not to do that. But 405-407-6975. I'd love to chat with you. Send me a text. Send me an email, mitch@mitchelljacob.com. I mean, I am available, I promise. I am trying to go to local events for you. That's another thing. Is there a local event near you that you think I should be at? Send it my way. I cannot be in 14 counties at once. So I rely on beautiful people like you to let me know. If you want to host a living room event and invite your friends, family, and neighbors, and I come to you and meet you where you are, I will happily do that too. Because at the end of the day, this is about building a community. It's about working together. This is not about me winning. That is not the goal here. The goal is to put one of the people back in power and take it back from Tom Cole, because he is melting into that chair. In fact, the chair that Tom Cole holds, because he's held it so long, is old enough to drink. Let that settle in for a moment, right?
Yeah.
That is a long time to hold a
long
seat
time.
in the United States Congress. And it's time that we put someone like you and me back in that seat. Thank you so much.
Term limits. I'm
Yeah.
going to say kudos. I just want to say kudos on me, because this is something Elisa and I do with organizing Okies, is get involved. It doesn't have to be with us, but get involved. Hang out. See who's doing what. Mwah. Love that you just said that, because that is so spot on. You don't have to hang out with us. Right, you don't have to get involved with us, but just hang out, see what's going on, see who you want to get involved with.
And I got
love that.
one more question for you, if you don't mind.
I'm here as long as you need me.
Awesome. So we've already interviewed Jeff Pixley.
Okay.
We've interviewed you now. We would love to have you guys on for a debate. If he would be in agreement, would you like to come back for a debate with Jeff Pixley?
I absolutely would, and I will invite you really quickly. You're on my phone, so I can't pull up my calendar, but I know next Wednesday we have a debate, in April we have a debate, and in May we have I forget where the one in April is offhand, forgive me. Next Wednesday is at OU at 5:30 p.m. There's one in May in Grady County. Yeah, sorry, my calendar, I live day to day, my friends. So I don't have all
Completely
this
understand
memorized.
that. No, you're fine. You're fine.
But
We
yes,
appreciate it. We
I would love
appreciate
to.
that willingness. We just, I mean, our followers pretty much, they get out and hunt and are eyes on the ground for us when we get calls that there might be some troubles in the neighborhood and stuff like that. And they come out when we, do events and stuff. But pretty much, most of them are disabled in some way or another. We have a lot of elderly that volunteer and do things with us. And it's hard for them to get out on a regular basis to go to things like that. So we try to show up wherever we can to bring that to them live. So Michael, you said next Wednesday, 5:30. Darn it.
Yes, on March 4th. And I just wanted to piggyback on what you said really quickly. If that describes any of you, elderly, disabled, mobility challenged, impaired, and you're still out here doing this, I respect you. You're the reason this makes a difference, because it is not a sacrifice for me in many ways, I suppose, from the perspective that we're talking about, to do the things that I'm doing, because I can walk out of here and go do it. But for those of you who have a little bit more of a challenge than me, you're doing the real work, and you're putting yourself in a position that I have an incredible amount of respect for. And I thank you so much for getting involved and making a difference regardless. So thank you. And then next Wednesday, because you just said it, is March 4th, 5:30 p.m., Price Building on OU's campus, and it is an economic, a debate about economics.
Okay.
I think I can make that. What time was it again?
5:30 p.m.
5:30.
I will be there.
Can we
Me too.
live stream it?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that'd be great.
I'll hop on
Yeah.
from the account and I'll live stream it for you guys.
Oh, that would be brilliant. Yeah, thank you. So y'all heard it here first. We're going to go live stream that, and that's next Wednesday. So that'll be cool. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you all. This was
Absolutely.
beautiful. I look forward to doing it again.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you let us know what's going on, because that's another thing we try to is let people know, like, hey, these events are going on, this is happening, show up. So I appreciate you kind of filling us out and like what's going on. I love this. Great interview. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Fabulous.
Y'all have a great night. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, Debo.
Oh no, it's been a great night. I'm so glad that we got you to come here, and I was very fortunate that I met one of your campaign workers at the ACLU.
Val. Yes.
Something. Yes, Val. I think I have her in your as like Mitchell Val. So yes,
She's an incredible human. That's my comms director, so it was perfect that you ran into her because here we are.
And here we are. She's darling. And then we ran into where was that in Norman, Elisa? Where was that? The Democrat.
We were interviewing Mary Boren. Boren.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. We
were doing a live, and he was coming out of the building as we were going in. We're like, hey, let's accost Mitchell and see if he can.
Because I was like, I know he's not about to walk by and Not
Well, I'm
scheduled.
glad you did.
I tell you, she has talked about getting you on the show. I think since we started this show, you were one of the first
Yeah,
ones she
I
suggested we
know.
get on. So
I
just so
know,
you
I'm a
know.
goof. But I followed. Unfortunately, I was working in Norman in 2024, but I was working overnights.
Mm.
And so I had just followed that for so long, and I was like, "What the hell is What's going on here?" And then to see you at the convention and kind of recap, it's been great. So I really appreciate you coming on. I usually do announce that I have like some biases. My biases though were just like, hey, I like this guy, but we had never really gotten to like meet and tech until that convention. So, and then now for sure, like we're homies. So, love that. I'm so glad I got to like finally. I know I'm just a dork. Can you
Well, I'm
imagine
glad
working with
too.
this?
Call, text anytime. I'm here for you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you
you
so
so much.
much. And
Thank
good
you.
luck in your campaign.
Yes. Yep.
And I would like to say thank you for continuing to do Organizing Okies. I remember when you formed it. I've been to some of your protests, and I thank you for continuing to do it and keep it up.
Thank you so
Oh,
much.
I
We
needed
appreciate
that. Thank you. I was like, I'm about to
It's been a
cry.
lot, hasn't it? So
Man, it's
yeah.
been so much.
If you're not doing anything, oh no, you're going to be busy Saturday. You just said you were knocking doors. Saturday, we're doing a pop-up protest with Oklahomans Against ICE
Okay.
at a bridge for OHP, like 40
Mm.
I-44 and Southwest 29th, because
59th.
they're
Yep.
all like connected. It's all connected.
Well, we
Anyway,
will be hitting the doors.
you will.
I'm gonna knock 60, and then we're gonna give volunteers a bunch too, and so that's where you'll find me on Saturday.
That sounds like a blast.
Sounds
Enjoy
good.
yourself, get to know your neighbors and your
Yes.
community, and we look forward to seeing great things from you.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
guys.
Yep.
Thanks for coming
Thank
on.